This is gonna be a spicy one. I am tired of these toxic personal brands. You know the ones that I'm talking about. The rage baiters, the grifters, the people who are straight up lying to their audience about what they do and how much money they make. I've been building personal brands online for over 17 years now, and I can tell you, there have never been more of these characters in the scene. But I think most of them don't fully realize that they're actually falling into one of these three very problematic categories. And the first one is the call out creator. Now we all know creators like this. I'm talking about the people who are addicted to rage bait. They love calling out specific individuals. They like correcting them publicly in their content. They're not trying to be useful to their audience. They're just trying to garner attention and controversy. And while sometimes we may see these videos and actually maybe we agree with what they're saying, the majority of the time we watch these people, we see them in our feeds, and afterwards we feel icky. We feel gross. I almost feel like I need to take like a cold shower afterwards. It's so disgusting. It's nothing of what we actually want to be consuming on our feeds. But unfortunately, it is getting attention. And so we're seeing more and more people trying to leverage or utilize this strategy. And I think it's just downright disgusting. Now, some people are actually able to do this tastefully, but I think it's very few individuals. Very few are actually able to do this tastefully. I want you to think through right now. Have you ever seen somebody who can do this correctly? Because the few that I have seen are all within the science space, okay? I have seen some, scientists or individuals who are really in depth on nutrition and exercise science that have been able to do this. And the reason why it works when they do it is because oftentimes they're not calling out an individual. They might be taking something that an individual said and then correcting it or coming against it in their content. But rarely, when it's done tastefully, are they doing it in a way where they're actually calling out somebody's name. I'm so tired of the name calling or calling out people specifically. I get it. I get that it's frustrating. Trust me, I see it all the time. There's so much shit being talked about personal brands and content that I fundamentally disagree with, but you will not hear me call out a specific name. Not until halfway through this video, potentially. But here's the thing. What you actually want to do, because I don't want to just complain about it, okay? I don't want to just give you all my beef and my gripes with this without a solution. So the solution here is, instead of being a call out creator, what if you consider being a contrarian creator? A contrarian creator is somebody who is attacking views that they don't agree with, that they fundamentally disagree with. But instead of naming someone specific or naming an organization, they're taking the concept, the framework, the belief that these individuals are sharing, and they're making that the enemy rather than the individual. And this is the path that I have chosen. I have chosen to not be a call out creator. I don't want to honestly lower myself to that level. I don't want to stoop to that level. I would prefer to be more in what I like to call the deep end of the pool. I think a lot of the call out creators are occupying too much of their time in the shallow end of the pool. Now, again, like I said, I'm not mentioning anybody specific, but what I am doing is I'm taking a collective thought that many individuals making content are sharing and share in that belief, and then I'm attacking that belief instead of the individual. What I do want to be super clear about is the call out creator is going to bring you a lot more attention quicker. It is a way to fast track your personal brand. There's no denying that. You are going to get more attention. Now, I would argue this is going to be attention in the wrong direction. This is going to lead you down a path that you're going to build a brand that I don't think you're going to be super proud of. And honestly, a lot of people aren't going to want to associate themselves with you. I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. I got all kinds of shit to share on that. But I think what you end up doing is you get so much reinforcement. You get so much feedback, not even positive, but you get a lot of likes and views. And the way that our silly little human brains work is that makes us want to do more of it. We go further and further down this path that I don't think serves you or I that effectively. Because like I've said in so many pieces of content, I say this over and over again, not all views are good views. These are views where a lot of people are seeing you in a very icky light, an icky light that I don't think, especially if you're here watching my content, you probably don't want to be viewed in that light. I know I don't. And the bigger consequence that the majority of people, I'm gonna talk to you real quick like I'm like your cool uncle, your older brother, Somebody who's been here, done that for a little bit longer than a lot of you. And I don't mean this in a demeaning or talking down way. What a lot of people don't realize, because a lot of people that are preaching this or doing this have only been making content for 2, 3, maybe even 5 years max. I've been doing this for 17 years. And the way that this actually plays out is the top dogs in your space see you as an unpredictable character. You're an unpredictable person. And so why are they going to want to publicly work with or associate themselves with you? They're not going to, because they have no idea if at any moment you're going to take a conversation that you've had with them and all of a sudden, boom, put them on blast. And I'm telling you this because I have worked with these top dogs in your space or in tangential ancillary spaces to the one that you are occupying right now. And I think that it's a very short-term, short-sighted way of operating. And so ultimately, this ends up limiting way more than you realize the business potentials, the collaboration potentials that you have. They're gonna avoid you like the plague. And that's not what you want. One of the most important things is once you get to a certain level with your personal brand, the way that you catapult to the next phase is by collaborating and partnering with other individuals. And if they're all terrified of how you're going to handle or speak about them in public, they're not gonna partner with you. And that's going to limit your upside. That's going to bring your ceiling down on the potential of the personal brand that you are building. I know for me, even in my little corner of the internet, there are individuals who are talking about personal brand, they're talking about content strategy, and I see them getting a little bit more crazy with this. And in no way does it make me want to do anything with them. It makes me think that they're completely unpredictable and that there's no way for me to know whether or not they're going to be loyal or a good partner for me. I'm not saying, and I want to make sure this is very much understood. I'm not saying to not share your opinions. Again, I'm just saying share your opinions without calling out an individual. What I know for certain is that call out creators, not all of them, but a lot of them do win in the short term. But I believe in the long term, which is the only game we want to play with this whole personal branding thing. The long play, the long win here is the contrarian creator. I encourage you, don't build your brand leveraging somebody else's name. How weak is that? That's so lame. Build your brand leveraging your own name, your own thoughts, your own credibility, your own wins, your failures, your successes, your losses. This is how you want to build your brand. I promise you, in 10 years, in 15 years, you will be far more proud of what you've built than if you tore everybody else down on your way to the top. And the next one that I want to hit on is, and this one is just absolutely disgusting, is people talking about shit that they've never done. I really want to just sit with that for a second. Because if you felt a little like, a little pain of anxiety, a little increase in your heart rate, a little sweaty palms, so to speak, that might be you. And what I would say is, I'm not attacking you right now, I'm attacking the concept, right? I'm a contrarian creator, not a call-out creator. But what I will say is, if you build your brand talking about shit you have not done, shit that you're not actually truly an expert on, you're gonna get exposed. And it's going to be really fucking painful. You are not going to like it. Because everyone has built this trust with you based on what you have said. And then when they meet you or when they find out the truth, trust is eroded for a very long time. I won't say forever because you can rebuild it, but my God, is that an Everest that I would not want to climb if I were you. Now, the thing is every time I talk about this, I see the comments, I see your questions. Do I need to wait until I'm perfect or an expert before I start making content? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is if you are actually more of a student than an expert, label yourself as such. Speak as though you're a student, not an expert. Why? Well, one, there's the obvious thing. What if you're wrong? What if you're just steering everybody in a wrong or incorrect direction? We've seen this many times over the last 10 to 15 years online. People who don't know shit about what they're talking about, but they sound very convincing, they're extremely charismatic, and people trust them, follow their advice, or maybe even worse, they're a subject matter expert on one thing, maybe business advice, but maybe they aren't a subject matter expert on like how to live your life, how to interact with friends and family. And they give advice on things that they are not an expert on. Tons of people follow it. And then years later, we find out they're not even happy with their life. They hate what they've built. This is disgusting. And so I'm going a little bit on a rant here, a little bit of a tangent. But the point is if you haven't done it, why the fuck are you talking about it? It doesn't make any sense to me. The biggest point here is not to stop making content, not to delay making content. It's to be honest in your content. If you are the student, talk about what you are doing to learn and grow at the thing that you are pursuing. If you're the expert, cool, teach us the lessons. But the lessons better be off of what you have done, not off of the same transcript that you and everybody else in your space is copying from the top dog who actually does have experience, who is teaching based off of failures and successes in their space. My God, I'm getting a little fired up right now. I apologize. This is a different vibe, I think, than normal, but I think it's fun. I'm curious, if you are finding this enjoyable, if you're finding this new vibe a little bit different, but fun and enjoyable from our normally programmed content, I would love to know in the comments if you're feeling this spicy version of Caleb. Let's hear it. And if you're not, let me know. I mean, I don't have to show up this way. I can keep this for my friends and family. This can be behind closed doors if we need to keep it that way. And so that long-winded rant basically brings us to this funny fork in the road. The fork is either the expert or the student. And there's no wrong answer here. Again, it's knowing thyself and being honest with your audience. And I can't believe that I even have to say that. It's absurd to me that I have to tell people, or maybe not tell, but try to persuade people to be honest. It's absurd, but this is where we're at. And what I will say, because I also see these comments, because I look at the comments, I see people who are experts in their field and they'll comment things like, wait, I don't ever want to lose the mindset of a student. Yes, of course, we always want to be learning. The biggest experts in the world act like students in every room that they're in. That's not what I talk about. I'm not here talking about how to, personally develop yourself through your career. You should always be a student. Yes, always have the mindset. I'm talking about it from the standpoint of, have you been there and done that? Have you done the thing that your audience wants to do? Or are you on the path pursuing becoming who the audience wants to be, doing the thing that the audience wants to do? This is the fork in the road. This is the decision that you need to make. And too many of you are posturing and pretending like you're the expert, but you're really the student. There's very few people who are an expert at building a personal brand, at building a business, at optimizing your health if they've only been doing this for 2 years. And I'm not saying that your tenure or the amount of time that you have in your career is the only factor into you being an expert or a student. But what I will say is there's a lot of people who are talking online about business, about any subject matter, honestly, that don't have much experience. And so maybe they've done a really good job in the last 2 years on whatever category they're in. But what they lack is an understanding of the way that the world works, the way that their industry works, the ebbs and flows of what they're doing. They're speaking to you from an optimistic, ignorant standpoint. And I don't mean that in a mean way. Ignorant isn't like I'm not like throwing shade. I'm not calling names. I'm just saying they are lacking understanding of the greater picture. I want to settle this once and for all. If you are the student, you need to take this frame. I am here trying to get to here. And these are all the steps that I am taking along the way to get there. Here's where it went right and what I did and what you can do. Here's where it went wrong, what I did and what you shouldn't do. This is the frame that you need to take as the student. However, if you're the expert, cool, amazing, wonderful. Start sharing lessons that actually come from your real fucking world experience, not you taking the same generic advice that every other creator in your space is giving. My God, we don't need another person giving us our fucking morning routines. Sure, some of you, I want to see your morning routine. It's unique, it's fun, whatever. But don't play into this generic bullshit. Start talking about real shit based on your actual experiences. Okay, I'm trying more and more to tap into this for me because I'm realizing this is a way bigger differentiator. Why? Because no one else has lived my life. No one else has done the shit that I've done or made the mistakes that I have made or had the successes that I have had. You've had your own versions. You've had amazing successes and epic failures, and they're yours, not mine. And so it's on you to share yours. Stop sharing mine. And then we have the good old grifters. I know we all love these characters. Before I actually go into this, I heard a definition from a podcaster. He gave a definition that I thought was fucking fascinating. on what it means to be a grifter. And I'm gonna butcher it. I'm not gonna get it exact word for word. But essentially what he was saying is a grifter is somebody who sells something online that they would never buy themselves. When I heard that, I was like, wow, yeah, that is incredible. The amount of individuals that I've talked to that are, you know, the first thing they talk about is how much money they're making. They're not talking about any cool shit they're doing with clients or customers. They're not talking about results. They're talking about how much money they are making. And then immediately they're telling me about some offer, some, you know, fucking shitty course or, you know, kind of basic lame community that they're building that they would never use themselves. And I don't know about you, but I would feel like such a phony. I would feel like such a fraud. And man, I'm getting a little aggressive here. So just, you know, take it with a pound of salt here. But I would just encourage you, you do not want to be one of these individuals. I promise you, it doesn't end up playing out well for anybody here. The easiest version of this, because I just mentioned, you know, the course or community person, and there's nothing wrong with those inherently, but there are a lot of people that sell shitty courses that they know are shitty or outdated. There's a lot of people that have bullshit communities that are not valuable, not useful, and they're just selling it to make money. But it's not just them. All you gotta do is open up your fucking TikTok app and all you see is all of these creators who were once trusted by their audience giving valuable content, whether it was entertainment and it was escapism, or it was education and it was behavior change. They were giving out good shit. And all of a sudden TikTok Shop came around and they're suddenly pushing and peddling all of these bullshit products. I mean, I'm gonna try to not spill my wine here, but how many of us have seen the jacked guy who has that bar, that flat bar, and they're bending it and they're talking about, this is how I built my upper chest. Horse shit. You built your upper chest doing incline dumbbell presses. Grifters aren't just people who are selling info products. I remember way back in the day, oh man, I'm sounding old here, but when Instagram was kind of a thing, like very, very new. I was on Instagram and I was one of those, you know, early day PNW nature influencers, I guess you could say. And I didn't have like a massive following or anything. I think I had 60 to 70,000 followers on Instagram. And I would post photos of the PNW, Pacific Northwest, usually Washington or Oregon, nature, landscape photography. And a lot of friends of mine were also doing the same thing, had large followings. And so many brands would reach out to us and want to leverage our audience. And the majority of these brands were peddling some shitty products. And I tried to be very careful. Now, I was young and broke, and so there were some gigs that I took. There were some brands that I pushed, but they were always products that I actually used. It was like a stove that I actually took with me camping every single time, that I actually backpacked through Iceland using. But some of my buddies, they were pushing products that were complete shit. I'm talking, we would film a promo video and we would have to do massive amounts of gymnastics in order to make the product actually work. We would fake it all the time. And so they would push this shit. And again, I'm not trying to be here to judge. That's not my place. I'm not trying to judge or condemn anybody. But what I'm saying is, if you push a product, whether it's yours or someone else's, that doesn't bring value to your audience, guess what they associate you with? That lack of value. If you push a product that is good and it improves their life and it makes everything better, it makes whatever they're doing, their workouts, their business, their relationship better, amazing. They're gonna associate that value with you. And so it's a positive thing for your brand. On the flip side, if you're pushing a shitty product and it doesn't bring them any benefit, it actually is neutral or actually brings negative, it makes it worse, they're gonna associate that negativity with your brand and it's going to reflect poorly on you, thus degrading and eroding the trust that you have built. Some of the things that you can think about if you're considering pushing one of your own products or promoting somebody else's product is this something that you actually use, or earlier on in your career when you weren't at the level that you're at right now, would you have found value in this? The point here isn't that I'm saying you shouldn't promote a product, okay? It's that you should promote a product that you know is going to add value to your audience, thus improving your brand. There's nothing wrong with selling shit. The problem is when you sell shit that actually doesn't serve the audience, then it ends up detracting from your brand. If you sell shit that's good, it's gonna make your brand better. It's a win-win The audience gets the benefit from it, and then your brand builds in equity. There's more trust associated with you, not less. And so I'm here advocating, sell shit. Selling is good. Selling is not bad. If I'm selling you something that is going to increase your likelihood of achieving your outcome or your desired outcome, if it's going to make your life better, this is a good thing. The problem is the majority of people who are selling shit online are selling shit that won't add value. It's like the guy who's pushing that stupid little bar that he says it's gonna build your chest. It didn't build his chest. That's full of shit. Here's one for the people who are my age and older, actually. It's the Bowflex bullshit. It's the jacked guy in the infomercial at 3 a.m. who's saying that he got jacked and got 19-inch pythons pumping rubber. That's horseshit. That did not happen, okay? And so this has been around forever. I wanna make sure it's super clear. This is not something that's new with social media. This has been around since the dawn of time. They're called snake oil salesmen for a reason. I'm not exactly sure what that reason is, but I'm pretty sure that's like a really, really old thing, okay? The point here is not that you shouldn't promote anything. The point is to promote things that add value, not detract value. Then it will add to your brand, it won't detract. And so if watching this video has set off some alarms, if the bells are ringing, if the lights are flashing right now, and you feel like you need to restart your personal brand, click here to watch this video. I'm waiting. Why are you not clicking it? Come on. Are you waiting for me to finish this whole glass of wine? It was my second one. I already had one before I filmed this.
Wine time with Caleb.